Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Today Wednesday? No. Today's Thursday. My bad. Now, I don't feel like stopping this to correct myself. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday. So today I wanted to read a couple of articles to you guys. I don't want to go and get all political on anyone, but some things just need to be talked about a little bit, brought to the light. Everyone can do their own research. I'll put the links to these two articles that I'm going to read to you in the description. And I would like to know your thoughts about this H.R. 5 Equality Act. It has passed in the House. So I guess we're waiting to see how much further this act is going to go, or the approval of it. Again, not trying to get all political because that's just really not my lane, but sometimes when I see things that are interesting, I bring it to your attention and welcome you to put your comments and your thoughts about things that I bring up, because you just never know where the conversation would lead to, and everybody's feelings and opinions. But as always, I just ask that you keep it cute because we are nice over here. And before I get started, I want to ask that you give the video a thumbs up, and I want to ask that you share the video. And if you are not a subscriber to my channel, please go ahead and subscribe if you like. I would greatly appreciate it. And again, thumbs up help a whole lot with the algorithm, helps push my videos out there for others to find and view. One other thing before I get started. Tell me, what do you think about this shirt? Let's see. No prepper left behind. Ooh, excuse me. No preppers left behind, right? We don't want to leave anybody behind. So anyway, excuse me, my chair is rolling all over the place. Got to get some stability here. Equality Act. The Equality Act is a bill in the United States Congress that, if passed, would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to prohibit discrimination on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity in employment, housing, public accommodations, education, federally funded programs, credit, and jury service. Okay. Now that's the Equality Act. So H.R. 5 is what I'm talking about. So just to go a little bit more in depth about it, should the 1964 law, which outlawed race discrimination, be updated to include LGBT individuals too? Okay, here's the context. Great strides have been made this decade for legal equality based on sexual orientation or gender identity, including permitting openly gay troops in the military and the Supreme Court legalization and same-sex marriage nationwide. However, both those gains came at the federal level. 28 states still allow discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity on the state level, including in such sectors as employment and housing. States used to similarly allow other forms of discrimination before the Civil Rights Act of 1964 banned any discrimination or segregation based on the basis of 4 categories: race, color, religion, or national origin. What the legislation does. The Equality Act would add sexual orientation and gender identity to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, enshrining such non-discrimination protections under the federal law. The House version was introduced on March 13th as Bill number H.R. 5. The Senate version was introduced the same day as Bill number S.788. What supporters say. Supporters argue the legislation would extend the federal protections against racial discrimination, which the vast majority across the political spectrum now agree was the correct decision, to another class of minorities who may need it. Quote, to dismantle the discrimination undermining our democracy, we must ensure that all Americans, regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity, are treated equally under the law, end quote. Lead sponsor Representative Cicilline and Speaker Nancy Pelosi, they wrote in an op-ed for The Advocate. Quote, not just in the workplace, but in education, housing, credit, jury service, and public accommodations as well. End quote. Another quote. 50% of the national LGBTQ community still live in the states that fail to provide clear legal protections to their LGBTQ citizens. End quote. Representatives Cicilline and Pelosi continued. Quote, while these states try to stand against the tide of progress, the Equality Act will guarantee a nationwide standard to ensure that no American is ever forced to lose their job or home or live in fear simply because of who they are or who they love. So, what opponents say? Now, here is the kicker with this. Opponents counter that the bill could undermine religious freedom, medical doctors' practices, and parental rights. Do you want your parental rights stumped on with this? Ultimately, parents' rights to educate their own children and seek the best medical treatment for them would be undermined. A letter by the Conservative Action Project reads, in Ohio, a judge terminated a couple's custody of their 17-year-old daughter when they disagreed with the recommendations of a gender clinic and county agency that she takes testosterone injections. Medical professionals will be vulnerable to lawsuits if they decline to perform hormonal or medical procedures on patients who identify as transgender. The letter continues. Under the Equality Act, individuals and institutions could see increased lawsuits from failing to affirm same-sex marriages in foster care and adoption, making single-sex private facilities co-ed. Again, making single-sex private facilities co-ed, and use preferred pronouns for individuals who identify as transgender. So what are the odds of passage? The bill first attracted 240 House co-sponsors. 237 were Democrats and 3 Republicans. The 32nd most co-sponsored bill this Congress. That was larger than the previous 201 co-sponsors, which were 199 Democrats and 2 Republicans in 2017, and 178 co-sponsors, which were 176 Democrats and 2 Republicans in 2015. Let's see. The bill passed the Democratic-controlled House by a 236 to 173 vote on May 17. All voting Democrats voted in favor, 228 to 0. Republicans overwhelmingly opposed, 8 to 173. Okay, some of all of this other stuff I'm not going to read. Let's see what else in here. Let me skip down a little bit. President Trump does not appear to have personally weighed in on the bill, although a senior administration official told the Washington Blade that Trump opposes it. However, back in 2000, Trump endorsed the idea. Quote, I like the idea of amending the 1964 Civil Rights Act to include a ban on discrimination based on sexual orientation, end quote. Trump told The Advocate in a 2000 interview. Quote, it would be simple. It would be straightforward. We don't need to rewrite the laws currently on the books, although I don't think we need to address the hate crimes legislation, but amending the Civil Rights Act would grant the same protection to gay people that we give to Americans. It's only fair, end quote. So what do you guys think about this? So in this other article, now this one was written back in 2019. Again, I'll put the link in the description. H.R. 5 is no act of equality. And here's what they say, the summary. The proposed Equality Act, H.R. 5, turns sexual orientation and gender identity, which means SOGI, into protected classes under the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1968 Fair Housing Act. The bill creates obvious liberty, equality, privacy, and safety concerns. H.R. 5 would empower the federal government to impose civil and criminal punishments on citizens who dissent from SOGI ideology, including medical professionals, parents, women, and girls, and businesses and charities. The bill will violate their rights to freedom of conscience, religion, and speech. The bill would also take away basic authorities of local communities to determine who is allowed in single-sex facilities and whether biological men and boys are allowed to join women's and girls' sports teams. So what are the takeaways? Key takeaways. The proposed Equality Act, H.R. 5, would empower the federal government to impose civil and criminal punishments on citizens who dissent from SOGI ideology. Number 2, medicine will be politicized by enforcing doctors nationwide to treat gender dysphoria according to recommendations by transgender activists. Number 3, politicization of medicine will increase pressure on parents, I'm a parent, to permit hormone and surgery experiments on their children to address gender dysphoria. I don't like the smell of that. So again, it is already passed in the House. So what are your thoughts on this? Please chime in the comment section below. You know, stuff is getting real out here. There are a lot of bills and things that are kind of under the radar that we don't pay attention to. I know I don't pay attention to a lot, but I come across certain things, and then when I do, I try to bring it to you guys, information, so that we know what's going on out there. Do you know about HR 5? And what do you think about it? I'd love to hear your comments down in the comments section. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you like my shirt. Give the video thumbs up would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget, start every day with an attitude of gratitude. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.